everyone. Welcome to the ZB Network podcast. I'm your host, Speculate, and with me, as always, we have Hextuple
Hello, everybody.
And Zyber is also here.
Hey there.
And once again, we have Piddle returning for his second ZB Network podcast.
Hello, everybody.
Actually, this would be your first ZB Network podcast. The last one we did was the Zelda board podcast. But nevertheless, here we are. We have a lot to talk about today. Okay. In fact, we have so much to talk about. We got to split this into 2 episodes. So you're getting one episode with Piddle, on today, I guess, and then the next one you listen to is going to be recorded on the same day. So don't blame us if any big news happens between now and the upload, because we're recording both episodes on the same day. Okay, so now that all that technical stuff is out of the way, let's get on to the main portion of this podcast. Which actually, first I want to say we're going to talk about the order. First, we're going to do some news. We're going to talk about the Game Awards, and then we're going to have a big chat about all the Zelda stuff, because everyone knows big Zelda announcements on the 5th at the Game Awards, and we have a lot to get to on that. But first, I want to get some news out of the way. Let's do some quick hitters. I'll just talk about the news, and then we'll all kind of say our piece. So the first thing was a little earlier in the week. Nintendo tweeted out something about the newest installment in the Paper Mario series, this one for Wii U, and it was quickly deleted. And many people didn't really think anything of it until Walmart actually deleted, or they actually had Paper Mario U listed on their website as being for sale at some point. So does anyone have anything to say on this? A lot of people thought it was fake, but now I'm not really sure what to think about it.
I don't know. Does Walmart usually respond to stuff like social media?
I mean, I'm not really prepared to talk about that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, well, I guess. But I guess that's something that we could kind of ponder about. Like, do retailers look at what people say on social media to base their listings on? I guess that's something that we can think about. Not much else to say, though.
Then let me lead it in another direction, then. Would you want to see, another Paper Mario game next year, for example? Like maybe for the holiday season?
Heck yes.
Absolutely.
Zyber?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
No, we were talking about Paper Mario. Would you want to see another Paper Mario game like next year on Wii U?
I guess. I mean, I haven't played any. I bought 2 of them recently.
You haven't ever played Paper Mario?
No.
You got to give it a shot. Which ones did you buy?
I have Super Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door.
Thousand Year Door, play that. It's great. I can't remember, Piddle, did you hate Super Paper Mario, or was that just me?
Oh, no, I liked Paper Mario. It was just one of those games that was just a little bit too long for me, but I did beat Super Paper Mario.
That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, I beat Super Paper Mario. It was good.
I know the 3DS one people generally didn't like.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go that direction for the Wii U game. I think they're going to go back to more of a traditional style, just because it feels like the last 2 haven't really worked as well, I guess. At least in the perception of the gaming community. Okay, moving on from that, because that's kind of a bare bones rumor. The next one, the Game Awards were held last night, and I do want to talk about like what games won and everything. But first, we have a couple other pieces of news to talk about. Nintendo showed off 2 games apart from Zelda. The first one being a trailer for Mario Maker. So let's talk about Mario Maker. Anyone interested in this game at all? Any more than E3 maybe?
Certainly more than E3. I know I'm a creative type if you haven't been around, but making stuff is cool, and they announced that there are more like skins for the game. So that's cool. And they also kind of showed off some mechanics that aren't in the original Mario. Like, I don't think you could ride Lakitu's Cloud in the original game. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember. But you couldn't wall jump for sure. And wall jumping is a thing. And they said that the mechanics or the physics remains the same no matter what skin you're using. So despite the fact that they showed the wall jumping for the new Super Mario Brothers skin, it seems like that's going to be a thing no matter what the skin is. So I think it's interesting. It's kind of taking on its own flavor.
I think the new Super Mario Brothers physics are going to be the ones that they used. At least that's what it looked like to me, just from the trailer.
I wouldn't say that. I think it's kind of like a hybrid of like the original momentum kind of physics, but with some of the new mechanics built in a more primitive form. It certainly didn't look like the smooth gameplay that you see in New Super Mario Brothers. But yeah, I think it's gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to it. They definitely kind of upped the ante a bit with it, and I think I'm more excited than I was.
I'm still in a wait and see kind of mood regarding Mario Maker. I think it'll be amazing when it comes out. I think it's a great way for people to show off their creativity uh, and get for people who want more Mario and more platforming and more difficulty. I think they're going to be able to finally get they're going to finally be able to get a lot more difficulty out of their Mario games than they ever expected.
Troll difficulty.
Yeah.
Complete troll difficulty.
And the fact that you're able to like create and share your own stages online, it's like, why Nintendo will never need to make another side-scrolling Mario game again. Like this is it, right? Like
No, no,
I
don't say
don't-
that.
I don't think necessarily that's true, just because even with every new release, the big thing that they've always tried to do is implement
that's true.
new gameplay mechanics. And I think that's why they're sort of going with the original Mario in this case, and just adding wall jump is, it's like we consider that a big deal because otherwise it's just going to be pretty basic. I mean, think about the jump from the first game to the second game with all the different characters, and then I mean, even though it wasn't really Mario, and then to the third game with all the power ups,
Right.
and worlds and all the different things you can do with the third game, and even going to Super Mario World. So there's so many more directions that they can go in if they continue to release Mario Maker titles.
One of the things I definitely want to see is like what direction they're sort of heading. Like, is it just going to be like freeform? Yeah, just do whatever you want, or like, is there going to be some kind of structure to it? Is there going to be like a 3D? Is there going to be like a 2D Mario game within it? Like, are they going to make levels for you to play that you can play through and then make your own?
I doubt it. I kind of think they might go with a sort of achievement kind of thing, like we create a level with this many piranha plants in it, or something like that, and kind of give people some sort of set of goals to achieve, but still make it based on creativity rather than just completing levels.
I think we can expect the game to start with some tutorials that'll pretty much like either reproduce classic levels or introduce you to some new levels, and then yeah, possibly some achievement type stuff.
But it's going to be interesting to see, I guess, kind of like if this is like even a full retail game, if it's just going to be kind of like a Captain Toad where it's like $40 or less, and because I'm not sure if people would be willing to shell out $60 for something like this just because of the nature of it. I mean, you can go online and do kind of the same sort of thing and play, Super Mario Brothers levels the same way online for free, pretty much. So it's interesting how Nintendo. It's going to be interesting to see how they differentiate themselves from that sort of thing. So let's move on. The one other game that I mentioned that they talked about was Project Steam, and they showed a trailer for it. They didn't actually talk about it, but they showed the trailer. Anyone watch this? Anyone have anything to say? I don't really have any changed impressions from what they showed during last month's Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, I watched it once. I wasn't blown away by it or anything, but it's nice that they showed off the online multiplayer component, which is cool. So I think that'll maybe make it appeal to more people who like doing things online. But other than that, it didn't really show off much in the form of new game mechanics or anything like that. So my impression hasn't changed. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I don't know if I'm going to get it.
Yeah, my opinion hasn't changed. It's neat, but there's still, I think it's more of a wait and see what the reviews say kind of thing for me.
One of the interesting things that I thought was that like they're choosing to show off this game for 3DS instead of whatever they had with Majora's Mask, and I'm not sure if that's just because they didn't want it to overshadow the other Zelda game they were showing, but it certainly seems like they care a lot about this game, which I think is a good thing. Obviously, that they care enough about it to show it off at a major event where they're also showing off their new Mario game and their new Zelda game. So take that for what you will, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's nice that with the new IP, they're actually putting effort into showing it to people and getting the name out there. Because I mean, sometimes when they release new IPs, they kind of don't put a lot of marketing force behind it, and it just kind of quietly goes by the wayside when it gets released. So it's good that they're trying. That way, you can't blame them for not marketing it.
Right.
Like if it fails, it's because the game wasn't good and not because nobody knew what it was.
Yeah, so that's it for Steam. I did call it Project Steam. I meant Codename Steam. Obviously, that's the actual name. So, before we get into the Zelda talk, I do want to go over just a little bit the games, the big awards, any big surprises that of the game awards that they showed the other night. So, best independent game was Shovel Knight. Have you guys played that?
Nope.
I have not played it, but I've watched a good bit, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome. I haven't played it myself yet, but I'm going to be playing it in the next couple weeks. So
Yeah, I haven't played it yet. I'm I'm waiting to see if it gets a PlayStation Vita release. However unlikely that may be.
Ha.
Let's see. Best remaster: Grand Theft Auto 5 on PS4 and Xbox One beat out Pokemon: The Last of Us Remastered Master Chief Collection, which I know Piddle has a lot to say on, and Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. There's some pretty good games in there. So
Like, there's really been enough time to have Pokemon actually a part of that.
well, you could say the same for Grand Theft Auto 5. It came out like a week ago.
I don't think any game really stood a chance against Grand Theft Auto, considering it introduced the first-person mechanic in the remaster,
Yeah.
and that just completely changes the whole feel and atmosphere of the entire series. So, I mean, it's a huge step in terms of immersion for some people. Yeah, that's about all I have to say about it.
If I can just say regarding beating out Pokemon, like I will. I've been saying for a while now that this Pokemon game is like totally overrated, and I think it hasn't aged well, and I don't think it's bad by any means. I'm just saying that I think people got way too excited about it, and I don't think it's necessarily justified. And yeah, Grand Theft Auto 5 really did do more to change the experience than any of these other remastered games. So that's my opinion. Um, Next was Best Action and Adventure. Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor ended up winning over Alien Isolation, Assassin's Creed Unity, Bayonetta 2, and Sunset Overdrive. I thought Bayonetta would stand a chance in this one, but I have not played Middle Earth, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
I'm not surprised that Bayonetta lost, just because, I mean, who's really played it? Even among reviewers, not enough people have played it. I
I
haven't
know a
played
lot
it
of
yet.
people that were very interested in Middle Earth.
I think Middle Earth won just because Bayonetta, it was expected to be good, and then Middle Earth came along and it introduced this whole new Nemesis system and completely sort of changed the player experience and gave players a different kind of feedback into what they were doing within the game that they're playing.
Uh-huh.
Not to mention it was layered on top of like a cut and paste of the Batman Arkham games, that style of combat. And
People
that
love that.
combat is still like some of the best combat out there in gaming.
Well, there you go.
It just sort of combined, and I mean it was just a nice, pleasant surprise, and it was something newer than Bayonetta 2 was.
Yeah, it broke new ground, and in comparison to Bayonetta 2, which basically just really did a good job polishing what was kind of already there with that franchise. So I'm not surprised.
Okay, so moving on. Best fighting game. No surprises here. It's Smash Brothers for Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
It did beat out Smash Brothers 3DS. So if you're still playing that stupid 3DS version, you should listen. You should listen to me. That version is irrelevant now. Go play the Wii U version.
It's not relevant
Yes,
to
it
me.
is. Well,
How else am I supposed to play Smash Bros. While at work?
you don't have a. Do you have the Wii U version yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
What they need to do is let me play the 3DS version with my GameCube controller.
yeah, they need to figure that out.
GameCube adapter for 3DS.
I'd buy that. I'd buy everything. And then next was best sports racing game. Drive Club was not nominated, by the way. But FIFA 15, Forza Horizon 2, NBA 2K15, Trials Fusion, and Mario Kart 8, which was the winner of that category. I don't think that's a surprise either.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't even
not
think
surprised.
of other racing games when it comes to, like, Mario Kart is the racing game that I ever think about. All the other ones just blend together to me. So, yeah.
People always ask me, like, oh, do you like racing games? I'm like, yeah, I love Mario Kart. And they're like, no, real racing games. I'm like, there are other racing games that are worth playing?
So I do I like cars? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking me?
no, I don't like cars. So that was a... Anyway, I'm showing my bias. My bias is showing. Here was an interesting category, I thought. It was Best Shooter, and Call of Duty didn't win. Destiny didn't win. Titanfall didn't win. Wolfenstein didn't win. It was Far Cry 4, which I think was probably not an underdog, but definitely before all these games were released. I don't think anyone could have seen this happening.
I I'm not too surprised, but I am mildly surprised considering the competition. I mean, you had a a brand new Call of Duty game. You had Titanfall that it's going up against.
Two new IPs, Destiny and Titanfall.
Yeah, and I mean Titanfall it's really good. It's really fun. And Far Cry 4 is just sort of a refinement on Far Cry 3, but
Hey,
it's I mean Far Cry is really made a lot of progress in terms of like how you traverse the world, and just like the crazy kind of experiences you can run across in terms of like running along in the wild and then like, oh hey, there's a giant bear that's going to destroy me and I'm going to set it on fire.
PETA should be all over this game, by the way. Just saying.
Who cares?
But they're all over Pokemon every single time. I don't know.
Really? Are they?
Yeah, you didn't know about this?
I didn't think they made a big deal.
Oh,
out of
I
it.
gotta send you some links, my friend.
Oh,
They make
no.
a big deal out of it. Okay, if you haven't heard of the PETA Pokemon thing, and by the way, if you're listening to this and you're a member of PETA, I'm sorry, but some of the things you guys do are just ridiculous. And the Pokemon thing is one of them. But let's move on. Speaking of Pokemon, the next category was Best Role-Playing Game. Not really a whole lot of great ones this year. Pokemon, interestingly, was not nominated. Bravely Default was, Dark Souls 2, Divinity, South Park, and Dragon Age, which was actually the winner. I did not play Dragon Age, have not really even considered it, so I don't know anything about it, but it did win. So
South Park, huh?
I have not played Dragon Age yet just because Dragon Age 2 left such a bad taste in my mouth that, I mean, it was really, I was going to wait and see on Dragon Age Inquisition. And I mean, I'll definitely pick it up at some point and see what it's like. But I mean, it sounds like it's done a great job of reversing the destruction that Dragon Age 2 did to its name.
I'm surprised to see an adaptation of a television show RPG make it into the Game Awards as a nominee. Like that, when you said South Park, I was like, was I the only person taken back by that?
Oh, the people at my job love that game and show.
honestly, I heard like right before Mario Kart 8 came out, they were having like this was on IGN. They were having like a mid-year discussion of Game of the Year, and people were like, "Oh, what's the Game of the Year?" Well, it's not really Watch Dogs. Mario Kart 8 wasn't out yet, and some people were like, "Well, I didn't really care for Donkey Kong, so the best Game of the Year is actually South Park: The Stick of Truth." And I'm like, "Really? That's interesting." Like, that does
Like that wasn't even on my radar.
yeah.
Honestly, like I knew it was a thing, but I didn't.
It's a game for the fans. Like if you're a fan of South Park, it is the game for you to play.
Yeah, that's what I was understood.
And that's the big thing about it. And I mean, it's sort of like anything. If there's an adaptation from a TV show that you like or book series that you like, and if it's done well in game format, like that is going to be pretty much like one of the best games of the year for you. So, I mean, it's not a surprise that there's so much love for the South Park game. I think there's a lot of crossover between the media that represents gaming and like what kind of TV shows they like.
Yeah, I can see a game like that, especially around that IP being cool. But I just they're always so bad, like adaptations of movies and television shows, that I don't ever expect a good developer to be behind something like that. So
Yeah, you know what the last
yeah, but that's interesting.
You know what the last TV show adapted into a video game was, and you know how bad it was? It was frickin' Sonic Boom. So I think that tells you. I think it's an example right there, because they put the TV show before making the game anywhere close to
Haven't we
decent.
done enough crushing of that
No,
game?
we're gonna crush it even more today, actually, in the next episode.
Are we?
Yeah, we are. I have a whole segment planned. So let's get off that. Next award. This was an interesting one. Developer of the Year: Blizzard Monolith, Telltale, Ubisoft Montreal, who shouldn't have been nominated, and Nintendo, who actually ended up winning this award. Which, congratulations to them, because they get buried all the time.
Yeah, I'm happy. I think it's kind of apparent now that the industry is like, well, Nintendo failed hard with their latest console, but they've been killing it with software to make up for it, and so I think people are trying to
Look at all the ridiculous games that
recognize.
came out this year. We didn't have a year like this on Wii ever. We had Mario
It's
Kart
true.
8, Captain Toad Smash, Donkey Kong, Bayonetta, and that's just like the big like games. Like there were still,
And then
you know.
you look at like next year. Like it's not even next year yet, but the slate already looks really promising for the entire year. Like there's not a drought to be found for next year for sure.
I mean, I could name all those games, but that's for another episode. Anyone have anything else to say about Nintendo winning? I mean, they probably deserved it, right?
They deserved it, and it continues to baffle me why the Wii U doesn't sell better.
Doesn't have any games. All it
third-party
has
support.
is Mario games.
They're good at making games. They're bad at selling things.
Yeah, they are very bad at marketing and selling. I mean, that can't be denied, right? We could have a whole episode just
Nope.
ripping Nintendo's marketing strategy. I've done that before.
Yep.
And I'll probably write an article, incidentally, on our great website, thezb.net, detailing Nintendo's awful marketing over the years. So let's move on. This one I just wanted to mention. I don't care who won, but it was best score / soundtrack. Mario Kart 8 was not nominated, and I was offended by that. That game's music was frickin' awesome.
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's definitely got its appeal, but I don't think it
It's
was
jazzy.
something to write home about. Because home wouldn't care. Like my friends might care, but the rest of the world might not really give a crap.
Well-
no matter how good the quality is.
Destiny won that award. So
I'm not surprised.
yeah.
Destiny has good music.
It's no surprise. Marty O'Donnell, he's such a talent when it comes to music. I mean, going all the way back to the original Halo, he just knows how to build a good soundtrack and make a game feel grandiose.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. I'm not complaining that Destiny won. I was just bothered that Mario Kart 8 wasn't even nominated over the likes of, Alien Isolation, Transistor, Child of Light, Sunset Overdrive.
I'm not surprised that Child of Light
I
and
don't-
Sunset
I mean-
Overdrive got the nominations because, again, sort of like Destiny, the soundtracks were very appropriate for what the games are trying to build as far as atmosphere.
That is true. Especially Child of Light.
Yeah, I haven't actually listened to either Sunset Overdrive or Child of Light, so I can't really speak on them.
I think obviously the Kingdom Hearts collection should have won.
The Kingdom Hearts collection was not nominated for anything, actually. So
It did come out like
it should have been nominated
4
for-
days
It
ago.
should have been nominated for like worst title. Kingdom Hearts
I've-
HD Final Remix 2.5. How can you have a 2.5? What is that? How can you have half a game? Like, what's the half? Is it like a crappy game, so they only count it as half a game?
Yes, it's so crappy that they have 3 games in it.
So is Sonic Boom like Sonic 0.5? Okay.
But it should have won anyways, just because Yoko Shimomura.
Next is Best Fan Creation, and this is the last one other than Game of the Year. This was it. I just included this because I thought it was interesting. Best Zelda rap ever by Ego Raptor, Luigi Death Stare by people that I can't pronounce the names, the Minecraft song, Minecraft Titan City, and of course the winner was Twitch Plays Pokemon, a phenomenon the likes of which I have never seen. I've never seen anything like that. That was
It is
incredible.
A cultural phenomenon. It's like a little pocket of gaming culture.
It was so cool when that thing was in its prime. Man, and it was better before they announced the voting system with the anarchy and the democracy thing, in my opinion. But because it was funnier.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what Ego Raptor says about his nomination on Game Grumps because I didn't know that was a thing.
I actually didn't watch that video, so I don't know about that. I did obviously I know about the Titan City, and I know about Luigi Death Stare. Obviously, that was another big one. That was on like national news.
I'm still bitter about the
Yep.
Luigi Death Stare because I'm like, hey, I was a Luigi fan first. You guys can't be Luigi fans now just because of that awesome look.
Well, you had the year of Luigi all last year to celebrate, and then this year kind of. I mean, Luigi still got his big moment with the Death Stare, though. So.
And the Luigi hipsters. What are you gonna do?
And then finally, talk about Game of the Year. Some interesting nominations, I thought. Dark Souls 2 and Hearthstone were the 2 nominations that I thought, that's interesting. I was surprised Smash Brothers wasn't nominated. I was also surprised that that Destiny wasn't nominated just on principle of it. I'm glad it wasn't because I don't think it deserved it. Bayonetta 2 was also nominated, Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor, and the winner was Dragon Age Inquisition.
I've not played a single Dragon Age game, so I can't really say.
I'm gonna have to look at this Dragon Age thing at this point.
The first game is phenomenal. Second game was atrocious, and then it looks like there's a big winner with the third game. So congrats to BioWare. It's nice that Electronic Arts gave them enough time to actually put something good together and not something rushed.
Which is not very common from EA, as we all know.
Oh yes.
And I think it says, I'm gonna go off on a little bit of tangent here,
Go
but
ahead.
I think it says a lot about giving a developer the time they need to properly put together their vision. Because you had Destiny, which a lot of people were sort of like, well, it's sort of rushed. And I mean, although Destiny is really good, I mean, it's not game of the year just because of some of the problems it had, and there's all sorts of other stories we can talk about as far as rushed titles later.
Sonic Boom.
Well, we have more than just Sonic Boom to talk about in terms of rushed titles. That's for the next episode. So stay tuned for that. Any more discussion to have about any of these awards? Anything else you guys wanted to point out that I may have missed?
I didn't actually watch them, so I can't point out anything you missed.
I'm actually looking at a list right now. I don't remember these all off the top of my head, but anyway. Okay, so let's go ahead and move off of that. A couple more things. You actually, Piddle, you just mentioned something about developers not giving or giving the other developers enough time to work on something, work on a game. It appears that Shin Megami Tensei Crossfire Emblem has been canceled because it just wasn't coming together as a project, and Nintendo seems like they have canceled it. We haven't heard a thing about it since E3, when they basically just said we're working on it, and there's been a rumor going around that it's just outright been canceled. Your thoughts on that, guys?
Not a surprise.
That's it?
Don't really care much.
Well, that's sad. Yeah, I don't know anything about Shin Megami Tensei. I don't know. It's sad to see a game canceled.
I'm actually surprised that they even tried to make it, just because, I mean, Fire Emblem, until Awakening, it was pretty niche, and then Shin Megami Tensei sort of has its own unique audience as well. So combining them together, I feel like you're, rather than expanding each fan base, you're sort of probably going to contract things instead.
It kind of feels a little bit like Legends 3, Mega Man Legends 3, where they have a loyal but kind of niche fan base, and there's a lot of excitement going into that, but realizing that it might not be worth the investment and the effort put into it, then it's like, we can't greenlight this because it's not going to pay off in the end. So maybe that's kind of what happened.
Okay, so yeah, that's enough of that. I don't want to talk about that anymore. It's too depressing to talk about canceled games. Instead, let's talk about some games that are doing pretty well that we've seen. One of the other things I wanted to mention earlier in the show, but I waited until now because I'm going to do a comparison, was No Man's Sky had a trailer at the Game Awards last night. And the game still looks amazing, but one of the things that I correlated to the Zelda game is that both look like they're kind of empty. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot to do. And you guys' thoughts on No Man's Sky? I just don't know what it's really going to be.
Yeah, in our prior recording that got trashed, I talked about how it's kind of like a parallel to real world exploration, where if you're going out into, let's say, Africa on a safari or something like that, there's going to be moments where you're kind of in an empty field or something like that. But with the amount of like depth and variety that you're going to get from No Man's Sky and the vast world that they've created with that, there's going to be a lot of moments where you're just in it for the discovery and not necessarily in it to accomplish an objective or fight something or something like that. So I think it's going to appeal to the people who really have a really vivid sense of exploration. They just want to see what the world has to offer. So I think it'll work, at least for some people. Like when I play a Zelda game, I'm not thinking about the fact that this ocean is empty because I have an objective in my head. So when people say, the world was so empty in Twilight Princess, I agree with them, but I never thought about that while I was playing. So I think it'll work for No Man's Sky.
The way you just described it makes it sound a whole heck of a lot more interesting. So I think that's probably going to be the way they present it, just because I feel like that'll be the most successful way for them to get their message across.
I'm sort of in the same boat. I think it's going to really appeal to some people. Everything that they've shown so far, every video, they've shown vastly different worlds, and they usually show like 2 or 3 worlds in each playthrough. And yeah, they've showed vastly different worlds with different plant life, different animal life, and I think they've shown off like gameplay. I've seen it, I think 3 different videos, and it's all been completely different. So, and they talk about the different combinations of planets, and like it has some astronomical number.
Basically, the limit is how much how much the game itself can handle.
Yeah, I think they said there's like 2 like trillion different like permutations or combinations, whatever.
I mean, it's probably all talk, right? Like, there's no way they could actually do that many, but you know.
Well, if it's procedurally generated, and I think that's the point, is they spent a ton of time building these tools, and that's pretty much all they did, is they built these tools to help automatically generate all the content as far as plant life, animal life, animations, everything. Yeah. And it's just coming together, and I think like the number of different, like really different combinations is still something amazing, like 30,000 different planets. Yeah. So it sounds like you're going to be able to play for hours and hours and hours and find completely different planets and plant life before you even see anything remotely similar.
And it's not to say that if you played the game, like hypothetically, if you played the game 2 million times, that you're going to get 2 million vastly differing experiences, but technically they'd be different. Like, you're not going to get the exact same type of thing,
right, for
that many playthroughs or whatever. But yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think the vision is really solid, and I think
like
it's
the
a
idea
unique
for sure
take on exploration. So I think the scope is really ambitious, but I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I just think of it in terms of, I mean, look at all the other open world games out there and how many copy paste elements there are, and people sort of get, I mean, sometimes you get sort of sick of it, except for some games that have huge teams and pull in huge amounts of money, like Grand Theft Auto 5. But I mean, here's something where it's sort of showing like this is what we can do with the power that's out there. And for me, it's not only like an exploration thing that'll be huge for some people, but it's also looking into the future as far as like, okay, like, you know, maybe this is what games are going to be like in the future going forward. Like when we play those big open worlds, companies are going to be able to put together these tools that sort of randomize things, and just give that much more variety to the worlds, and make the worlds that much more interesting and that much more enjoyable to be a part of.
Yeah, it's opening new doors for sure.
Man, and Pikmin 2 did all that stuff 10 years ago. Just saying.
Randomly generated dungeons. You're gonna really draw the comparison of that and
yes,
No Man's Sky.
It's the same exact thing. It's the same thing.
Not quite, because they're sort of putting the tools in place to generate different looking flora and fauna.
I was actually just joking, but you know.
I'm going to argue you anyway.
Okay, while we're arguing, let's go ahead and start arguing about Zelda, because we need to get to this at some point. And people are already bored out of their minds listening to us make fun of Sonic Boom and talk about No Man's Sky. So, the Zelda.
Enough fun of Sonic Boom yet?
Let's spend 10 more minutes on that, actually. No, but okay, so I felt like the Zelda presentation was kind of low key, honestly, because it wasn't direct feed. It still got a pretty big crowd reaction, for whatever that's worth.
I was happy to hear people like cheering. That was cool.
And let's be honest, the game looks incredible. Like we were just talking about the scope of No Man's Sky. You saw the map in Zelda U. Like, he just kept zooming out, and it was like, oh, we're not even to the edge of the world yet.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That was sort of my opinion. Like when they started showing off the map, it was like, oh, I see that zoom out button, and they zoomed out a little bit. I'm like, do it again, and they zoomed out a little more. I was like, do it again, do it again. Come on, there's got to be more. And then they did it one more time, and I was like, yes.
They that was one of the like, you know when Enuma snapped his fingers and you saw the world for the first time at E3. I felt like that was another one of those defining moments when they just kept zooming out. Like I'm gonna remember that for a long time. I thought it was so awesome.
Spiegel, you have to draw attention to something that you and I had between us before this event.
Oh, that is right. I totally forgot, and this was so important to me. Okay, so let's preface this. Hex and I had a bet that that no new Zelda information was going to be revealed. No new substantial information was going to be revealed until next E3, correct?
That's what we said.
And I said it would be
More like the
before,
next Nintendo Direct, maybe.
I said
No,
even
I said
before,
E3.
and I said even before the end of 2015, and here we are, some substantial Zelda information. So go me.
You gotta understand though.
What do you win?
You gotta understand,
Please understand.
why I made the
Please
bet.
understand.
Because
Okay.
we have a curse that when we say something is not going to happen and we believe it, it happens.
That is true.
So
so
I was
good-
very
so-
deliberate in that decision to make that
So
bet.
thank you, Hex. I appreciate that. Can you make a bet about, or can you say something about?
We got to be careful. It's got to be an authentic belief of mine. Otherwise, it's not
Okay.
gonna work.
Would you please just make a bet about Nintendo not showing another new IP at the next A3?
Oh, they're definitely not going to show a new IP at the next. I actually believe
I
that they're not
agree
going
with
to.
that. I agree with that too. So you know.
New bet with Piddle.
Okay, bet with Piddle. Are we doing this? All right. Yeah,
By
put
the
it
way,
on the board.
By the way, guys, if I sound really gross, it's because I've been sick for the past 5 days. So I'm going to be talking a bit at length for this Zelda part because I watched that thing like 20 times falling asleep. So yeah, if I sound sick, it's because I'm sick. Sorry.
Okay, so before we go off a bunch of we can go any direction, but I just want to do this. I wrote a list of like quotes and things that I noticed in last night's thing that I wanted to just bring up. They used the phrase "well into development." There was a magic meter on the screen. They used the word "huge world" the phrase "huge world" a number of times. The sailcloth is back. There is slow motion jumping, a la the Matrix. They said they did say they used the word "sure" it will be released in 2015. They are sure it will be released in 2015. Then they mentioned Star Fox will arrive before Zelda, and then they announced that Majora's Mask will arrive before Star Fox. And they have also made, quote, a number of adjustments to Majora's Mask. Obviously not all Zelda related, but all taken from that little segment.
Wait, they said a number of adjustments to Majora's Mask?
Yes.
Ooh, I sort of glazed over that. I think I was too interested in the Zelda gameplay.
Yeah, I think it's mostly going to be ways to make the experience a bit more tolerable from a lot of people were completely put off by the 3-day system and the saving system because it was a high barrier for people who didn't have the patience or the wherewithal to deal with it. So I think
Stupid
maybe they're
people.
going to kind of cater to the people who couldn't put up with that because they did say that the 3-day system is completely intact. So I'm curious to see how they go about making it a little bit more accessible to people.
Maybe they make it more obvious that you can slow down time.
I think they'll
we've
definitely
we've
do that.
talked about this before, haven't we?
Maybe. Oh, we might have talked about it right during the episode that we did right after they announced it, actually, because you were in that episode.
Yeah, I expect, touchscreen controls quickly changing from mask to mask.
Yeah.
I expect that you'll pretty much be able to save wherever you want. I expect a mode where you get to carry over your rupees instead of having to deposit them in the bank and all your equipment, because people complain about that for some reason. There's going to be a lot to just make that 3-day system less annoying for some people.
Or intimidating, I guess, would be a better choice of words.
They specifically said it's going to be so accessible that you can chat like we are right now while you're playing it. So I don't know what that means. It was probably just them being a little bit quick.
They're doing voice chat.
Yep.
Voice chat while you're playing the game.
Oh, sure.
See, are you saying that when you played, you did have time to talk to people? You didn't just stare at the screen and try so hard to play?
No, yeah, I know. I'm totally swallowed up by the game when I'm playing. I can't talk. talking while you're playing a video game is very difficult. If anyone's tried to be an LPer before, it's difficult to do.
It's difficult to say anything interesting, that's for sure.
Especially by yourself. But yeah, enough of that tangent.
Well, I think we can all agree that one thing they're changing is that we are going to be able to fish for George instead of having to fight him.
We're fishing for... Oh, yeah, George. That's right.
George.
I think one of the things... I mentioned the lack of direct footage, and I think it's just because the game is not polished, and I don't think they wanted to show that off, as much. I still think the game looks beautiful, but I just think it's kind of rough around the edges right now. Because that's just how Nintendo makes their games, right? Like, they kind of make it from the inside out, not the outside in.
It's kind of like a sculpture. Like, you start with a block that's just a rectangle, and then you chisel out a rough form of what you want, and then work with that and see what gameplay mechanics are working. And then once everything is set, then you kind of carve out the really nice details and things like that. So that's clearly what they're doing. Like, the trees looked a little bit rough. The rock texture, oh my goodness, that was like the blurriest mess I've ever seen. But
I thought the Epona animation looked kind of weird too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something you'd fix, but
I thought it was interesting. This is really detail oriented, but like the way the tail on the horse, like each like chunk of hairs basically behaved like the tassels on the Moblin spears from Wind Waker.
oh, yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Like, it's all freeform. It's not like a cooked, baked animation that's preset for the way that Epona runs, but it's more like a physics engine kind of thing. And sometimes it looks really goofy the way the hair just flies off to the side. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of polish that needs to go into the game still, but I am really optimistic on what the final product is going to be.
They have plenty of time. They're sure it's
One
going to
whole
release
year.
2015.
One
One year,
whole year.
basically.
I have plenty to say still.
Go ahead.
Oh yes.
Fire away.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, man, that grass looks amazing. I mean, you were getting like individual like sun reflections off the grass, and I mean the draw distance for it appears like solid enough. I'm like wondering how they even did it, because it's almost like if any of you played Flower for the PlayStation 3.
I've watched quite a bit of it, and I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, and it's just like the grass in that looked amazing. And when I remember playing that, I'm like, man, I can't wait until that's in like any kind of game. And here it is. Zelda's like pretty much the first game that's doing it, where it's all over, and it looks fantastic.
I think what they're doing with it is like when things are really far in the distance, they're using a lo-fi, like a low fidelity version of whatever asset it is. Like, I noticed when they did the scope looking thing to look at that tower, if you look at the trees and the cliffside there, it looks really rudimentary compared to what's up close to Link. So I think that's kind of what they're doing, and they're just popping in higher res textures and stuff as it gets closer, but not when you're close enough that you'd be able to notice the difference. So hopefully they do a better job of pop-in than other games do.
Yeah, I think that might be part of why they're afraid to show direct feed too. I mean, there's a lot of work to do as far as level of detail pop-in.
Well, and especially, sorry to interrupt, but especially at a conference, or not a conference, at an award show where they just showed No Man's Sky, right? Like, I mean, I'm not going to make comparisons in terms of graphical power, because No Man's Sky I thought had some pop-in issues just in that trailer, but I mean, I don't think you really want to draw that comparison. Not when you're trying to sell a product to potentially a lot of people who are graphics hoes, for lack of a better word.
A couple things I also wanted to talk about is I've seen a lot of complaints about how barren the world looks, and they sort of touched on that within it, and they talked about like being able to pick fruit off the trees. So first of all, I can't wait for Fruit Simulator 2015 to come out. There's the horses that were sort of running. It sort of reminded me of like the seagulls in the Wind Waker when you're like sailing along, and like your seagull sort of like starts running along with you.
Yeah, I had that exact same thought.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm thinking like of what we've already seen. Like we've seen farmers in the first trailer.
Goats.
Yeah, goats. They showed off the vistas, and they made it seem like vistas are going to be like a huge part of this game, and I think that's awesome.
They mentioned that there were a lot of high places that you could like jump off of because the world is so big.
if you take a close look at the world map, it appears that it shows increases in elevation based off of how
Light or
light,
dark, yeah.
yeah, how light or dark it is. It's very dark near the water, and it gets lighter. So I mean, it looks like we've got canyons in the game. It looks like we've got plenty of mountains, volcanoes. It looks like there's a storm cloud or something off into the bottom left of the map. If you ever take a look at the video again, I'd suggest taking a look at that. And then, I mean, if you pay attention, there are all sorts of monuments throughout the game. So I think what Nintendo's going to do is, and they're trying not to show their whole hand right now. They're just trying to show off like, hey, we sort of made this tweak to horse riding in the game, like where you're not going to run, your horse isn't going to be stupid and it's not going to just run into stuff. Yeah, just not showing their whole hand. And I expect like we're going to be playing this game, and they've talked about how important exploration is to them. And I expect like you'll see those monuments in the background and you'll be like inclined to go to them. And as you go towards those monuments, I'm expecting that we're going to find a lot of other stuff off to the side, like tucked away in a corner, and you'll find it and it'll bring out that like, oh, hey, look, I found this.
This game's going to be so awesome.
And that's sort of what
I can't handle it.
I'm expecting Nintendo to go in that direction. And they just don't want to show that off just yet.
They're waiting for the hype. They're waiting for the hype train to take off at E3. I think
The hype train left Final Destination Station at the end of this year, and it's gonna have a lot of stops along the way to Zelda.
It's got to make a pit stop. It's got to make a pit stop, right? And it's gonna stop at E3 2015 to show off this new Zelda game, which is going to. I mean, is there any doubt that this game, and probably No Man's Sky as well, they're just gonna like dominate E3 2015, both of them.
Certainly this one. I don't know what they're gonna reveal there, but yeah.
Kind of like Smash Brothers did to this year's E3, it just dominated everything. So I don't know.
One thing I want to talk about a bit is the very clear influences from Wind Waker HD and Wind Waker's design in general. Like you said, the horses are kind of like the seagulls, and the way you control the horse is very similar to the way you control the King of Red Lions. Like when you set sail, you're just letting the wind take you wherever. You can let go of the control, you can put it down, you can go make a sandwich and not worry about what the heck your boat is doing. And I think this is basically like you're sailing on an ocean, but instead of sailing, you're running, and instead of an ocean, it's grassland and whatnot. And it's very similar to that. It kind of gives you the leeway to do what you want in your inventory and kind of look around, change the camera angle without having to worry about running into a tree. So I'm excited about that. The fact that you have essentially a Deku leaf in the form of the sailcloth now is also cool, because it kind of that always gave me the ability to go wherever I wanted to go in Wind Waker. Like, oh, I can reach that cliff if I change the wind direction. So you don't have to worry about like jumping off a cliff and not knowing whether or not you're going to fall to your death, because you've got this apparatus that lets you glide along the wind, and it kind of gives Link the feeling that despite the fact that this land has all sorts of different elevations, you can almost traverse it like effortlessly by jumping off cliffs and knowing that you'll be safe. You can almost pretend that the land is flat, because if you can see a spot on the horizon, just go to it and use the sailcloth and your horse and running and whatnot to go straight, almost like a bird, but not quite. I don't know. I'm not. If I'm making any sense, tell me, because.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. We've been going for a while now. I loved Miyamoto's reaction when he jumped off the cliff. That was funny.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I think it's funny. They have to like act surprised at stuff. Like,
it's pretty funny, especially because they're, it's a different culture, it's a different language. So
yeah,
their reactions to stuff is just like, oh, that's amusing. But
so I'm gonna interject again and talk about the map some more.
Okay, more map.
But
I love that map. That map was my favorite part.
Yeah, it
really was.
It just looks so natural, and that was one of my biggest complaints with the Wind Waker. You guys know I'm one of the biggest Wind Waker detractors there are, but the map didn't feel natural to me in the Wind Waker. This map, it feels natural to me, and that's what I love about it. And we've also, so I talked about Stormcloud. It actually looks a little bit more like it might be a mountain peak. And then if you look up to the top right, it looks like there's a bit of a lava field. like a volcano on the top right. That's where Death Mountain's going to be. And then, man, I just love all those rivers, all the lakes. There's this island on the bottom right that I'm just like dying to know how we get there.
Yep.
And what's going to end up being on that island in the bottom right if we do in fact get to explore it. I'm hoping we do.
If it's going to be one of those Oracle of Seasons, you know, flippers thing where you have to keep pushing the control stick, I'm going to be so irritated. Sorry, I just had to get that jab in there. I hate that control scheme.
You know, I don't think it is, because like with Epona in this, I mean, they're clearly taking steps to sort of streamline the exploration process. And that's been like sort of a common complaint in some recent Zelda games, like the Wind Waker, with sailing being too slow, Spirit Tracks being stuck on a one-way track the whole way.
Ugh.
And I mean, like, here we are, opponent, again, not going to be running into things. The sailcloth, easily accessible whenever you're on like a mountain peak, and they've talked about the vistas already, so there's going to be plenty of opportunities to glide on down to another area. I think they're going to really make an effort to make this world easy to navigate, fun to navigate. My body's ready. That's all I got to say.
This game's going to be so awesome.
Yeah, like,
Okay.
I feel like they're trying to make it so that you can focus on exploration by taking away any of the effort put into actual traversal of the terrain. Make it all about getting to the destination and seeing what's on the way there, rather than trying to dodge trees.
I kind of question if people are going to be less entertained by traversing then, because they don't have something to focus on.
Well, that all depends on what they put in the world then, right? Like, people are concerned about the world being empty, and I think it's a legitimate concern, because now that you don't have to focus on navigation, give them something else to focus on.
Maybe that barrel's full of rupees that you can run over like in Wind Waker.
That just float out of the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be something. I think it's cool that Link is still not wearing that green tunic. So this might be early in the game that they're showing.
Well, is it weird for me to say I have not noticed that? I did not notice that. I didn't even look at the tunic.
Yeah, well, I was looking for the sake of being able to talk about it on the board. But, yeah, so this could be, assuming that Link does get the tunic relatively close to the start of the game, this could be pretty early on, which harkens back to the first game, where even at the very start you can go wherever you want, and if you die because you went to a place that's meant to be discovered later on, too bad, you died.
Yep, sorry.
So I'm excited. The implications are just too wild, and my mind is racing to all sorts of different potential things, and I got to be careful not to hype myself up and explore too many different possibilities, because I know I'd be disappointed if I come up with too many ideas.
I think that's why they're kind of taking it easy with like showing us like just a little bit at a time. Like, they don't want us to go crazy, right? Like, so they kind of teased us like, well, it's going to be an open world, and then they show us the open world, and then what are they going to show us next, you know? So I don't think I think they're leaving a lot to the imagination, but they're giving us just enough, like at a good amount, or at a good pace, I should say, to keep us, you know, satisfied and not get us overhyped.
One thing I also want to say is that what I assume are bokoblins, they don't look like gummy bears, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that, because I hated the design in Skyward Sword for the bokoblins. It was absolutely horrible. I wanted it to go back to Wind Waker.
Pretty much every design in that game was absolutely horrible. So.
Yeah.
We don't need to bash Skyward Sword.
Oh yeah, certainly not. It gets enough flack as it is.
Yeah, I feel bad for that game.
Hey, I liked it.
I liked it too.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It just wasn't Zelda.
It just wasn't Zelda 1. It wasn't a retelling of the original tale. Oh, let's not go there. Let's not go there. I wanted to go back to what Piddle said about. I wanted to go back to what Piddle said a bit about the landmass being natural looking. Like, when you go to Twilight Princess, it's like a bunch of little pockets of land connected by these tunnels. It's completely unnatural looking. It's like a crop circle or something, where the only place you can go is where the corn's been knocked down. This game, it actually looks like you could go zoom in on somewhere on the globe, like on Earth, and this is a kind of land you would find somewhere, right? It looks like a naturally occurring piece of land, and I'm excited about that, because past games have always felt a little bit compartmentalized. starting with Ocarina of Time. And obviously we all know that's because of hardware limitations. But now that they can open it up, there's so many different things that you can discover. And I'm looking at a picture of the map now, and I'm trying to figure out which one's Lake Hylia, and there's another lake, and there's rivers going to other little tiny lakes. And there's beach lines somewhere because there's an ocean on the east side. There's just so many things that I want to discover right now. Let me play the game, please.
There is so much. If you look at one of the scenes where they're most zoomed in on Link's location, you can see there's a little town. There actually looks like there's two little towns along the roadway. There's like a little dock. There's easily, like, you can easily tell there's like a little forested area, like, and it's just all forest, just a clump of trees. There's another picture you can see there looks like a roadway leads to a dock on the eastern peninsula, or some sort of like port. To the top right, if you look to the right of like where there looks like there's a little bit of lava, there looks like there's a lake shaped in the form of a skull.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
I mean,
we could go on forever,
yes,
right?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. One of the things I find myself wondering is like, okay, like how is Link gonna swim in this game? Like, what's the water gonna be like? Is it gonna be like Wind Waker water where you can't really see underneath the water? Or, I mean, are we gonna be able to explore underwater again?
As long as it looks better than Hyrule Warriors water, I'm not that concerned about the water. I'll just level with you.
Yeah,
there.
in the trailer, the original trailer at E3, they saw water at like where the bridge is before he fought the octopus thing, and
That's
it was
right.
clear, so you can see through it.
We haven't even seen like the desert areas yet. I mean, you know it's going to be there.
Yep.
You know we're going to see snowy mountains. You know we're going to see deserts. You know we're going to see volcanoes. I mean, I'm excited. If you think about it, we haven't really seen much of anything at all yet.
Yeah,
I'll
so
say
that's
one
why.
more time. Oh, this game's gonna be awesome. Okay.
That's why I'm not too concerned about the people saying that the world is going to be empty, because if you think about like the map of A Link to the Past or something like that, and then just scale it up, where any given locale or like theme of a locale, like the desert, the lake area, just make it huge, but they're all still connected in natural ways. It's going to be like that, right? But just on a much larger scale. So we've seen some grassland and some forest. That's it. We've been in a very localized area. Go west a bit for a few miles, and you might be in a big desert. I mean, we can't really tell because of the map is based on elevation, and it's not really showing what's swamp, what's town, what's volcano, what's desert. So there's a lot of mystery in that map, and we can keep talking about it, but we better stop at some point.
We've gone on so long. This was supposed to be like a 10-minute segment. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember
before
the plans.
we decided to split. Yeah. So we could do this forever, but ultimately we're very excited. I think we can all say that. And we are going to ask you again. Give us your user questions, like about maybe what we want to see in Zelda. Give us focused questions down in the comments. You can do it on the zb.net when we post this video in an article. You can do it on the Zelda board on IGN, anywhere like that. You can like and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. If you liked our show, leave us a comment. We always appreciate that. And yeah, if you want to get involved, just leave those comments. And we are going to answer some user questions in the next episode, which we are about to record after we're done doing this little outro. So I think that's it. I think we covered everything I wanted to cover. So anyone have any final words?
Give me Zelda U now.
I don't know how I'm going to do a media blackout for this game. I want to. I really want to.
You can't. You've already failed.
Hey, this is.
Could you imagine?
This is just like the very, very tip of the iceberg.
Could you imagine if you had not even heard of this game and you just like picked it up and this was like your first Zelda game and like since playing maybe like the original or Ocarina of Time or something? Like, that'd be insane. Okay, that's enough. We can't do it. We can't do this anymore. We have to stop at some point. So, Zyber, do you have anything to say? You've been quiet for like half an hour.
Well, there's just so much talking from you guys. I don't really have much to say about these things.
You got to get in there, dude. We'll get you in the next episode. We'll have more chatter from you.
You're gonna force me to chatter?
Yeah, you're gonna chatter. We're gonna have so many long, awkward pauses, and it's just gonna be like, Zyber, this is your opportunity.
I'll be all like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Okay, so for these guys, Zyber, Piddle, HexTuple and myself, SpiegelWee, check out the ZB.net, subscribe to our show, like it, comment, everything, and we will see you in just a little bit for our next episode. Thanks for listening.